I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to Horribly Hollywood Single, some of the worst dating stories told by some of the best guests in Hollywood. I, of course, am your captain, Adam Carr. Reformed romantic disaster, took out a homeless girl, dated a sex addict once. My ex name was Virgin Lupus. What can I say? We've been through it, right? The muck, we've been through the past, but we're here together and we're moving forward, and that's what's important. My guest today, I am so excited because I found out about her while researching for another guest who was going to be here on Lorraine Lopez Loves. She got on the map with this incredible article, 30 Dates in 3 Days. You heard that right, 30 dates in 3 days. She also has a new book coming out, The 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Gabi Conti.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
Me too. I can't wait.
Like, literally, it's just, you're hearkening back to my past.
Oh.
Because I saw your whole thing and I was like, oh my God, you could not have paid, like, I would have gone on 60 dates in 3 days.
You would have done that.
I probably would have died.
Yeah.
But, like, to me, it just sounds, I just want to know your whole... What was that like?
It was, it was great. I learned a lot. Like at the time, it was just like I was on adrenaline. And then after, I was dead for like a day. Like I couldn't talk to people because I was talking too much, you know, or was listening too much in some cases on dates. But then after that, after like the kind of the residue settled, it really helped me re-examine of like what I was looking for in a partner, if I needed to be in a relationship, what it would take for me to be in a relationship. And also I had kind of stopped like hyper dating. I kind of limited my dating and my swiping to just Sunday night, which is when people who have jobs are on dating apps. So that's when I recommend swiping.
Sunday nights, people on jobs.
Or they take their job seriously, because if you're messaging someone at like 3, I know that we're in the afternoon right now, but this is technically your job. Like at 3 p.m. on a Monday, if someone is blowing up your Bumble, they either are about to get fired or they do not have a real job.
Let me tell you, because I've worked at this theater for a long time in Westwood, which I talk about often sometimes, but I used to have a part-time job upstairs, and I would call it the Costanza, because basically my boss was so cool. It was my job to answer phones.
Okay.
And so I would take a nap under the desk if I was too hungover from the night before.
Understandably
And I
so.
would put the phone right above me. So if I heard it, I would pick it up and then like check. And most of the time the calls didn't even need to go through because this person was like, they just didn't care.
Yeah.
So that was when I would do a lot of swiping, to be fair. So I was kind of just a loser at that point because like I don't think there's any prospects.
Yeah.
So you're saying Sunday nights.
Sunday nights. Well, actually, Sunday nights is when there's the most activity on dating apps. So much so that Tinder actually took advantage of this, and they started doing, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have this game you could play where it was like an end of the world, choose your own adventure apocalypse game. And based on which you'd get like, there'd be these options like, do you save the girl or save the dog? And then what you chose would come up on your dating profile. So it was like an ultimate, like an easy conversation starter. So people would be like, oh, you saved the dog, so did I. Like, let's be friends. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw the girl, save the dog.
Save the dog.
You never know.
Yeah, you never
with
know.
the dog?
Yeah.
That's a friend for life.
Totally.
No idea.
Yeah.
So 30 dates, 3 days. Obviously, did you have some type of safety network? I think I read like you had a list, like all these guys' photos, because you could literally say that's 30 chances I have to just go out there and never be heard from again.
Well, that's what my friends joked with me about.
Sure.
They were like, Gabi, actually, you should keep a spreadsheet because, you know, if you go missing after this, there'll be 30 suspects.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a spreadsheet, but that was only for myself. I tried my best to not like share too many personal details about these guys because, you know, at the end of the day, I really feel like they were just trying their best for the most case. And if any of the dates ended up going well, I mean, I had second and third dates with some of those men who they knew about it afterwards. If any of those dates went well, it could have led to something. It just wasn't in the cards at the time. But yeah, so I was on a bunch of dating apps all at the same time, swiping, and I was actually probably the red flag because I was the one who was texting at 8 a.m. on a Monday. Hey, do you want to like get a drink on on Saturday at like 1 p.m. I was the crazy one.
But you're being proactive, so that means,
And then about like
The date. It'll happen.
Exactly.
The date will happen. Yeah.
And then about a couple of days before, I started the dates Friday morning, and a couple of days before Friday, I think it was like Wednesday, I had only had maybe like 15 dates scheduled. And so I told my editor at Cosmo, and she was like, well, you know, if you want to put out like a call and have friends set you up, like you can do that. So half of the guys knew about the experiment, and the other half had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The other half had no idea. And were you filming these dates at all during the whole time? Were they aware of it? Not aware?
There were 2 dates that I filmed because they were friends that were aware of the experiment.
Cool.
But I had filmed and or recorded audio of myself before and after each date, because these dates were happening so quickly and like after the other. So I kind of did that initially for myself, so I had a record when I was writing the article. I could go back and like, you know, honestly write about what each date was like.
Sure.
And then it turned into a video for Cosmopolitan, which is what blew up. Not the article got traction, but the video is what
No, you
blew
did
up.
great. Yeah, loved it.
Thank you.
So question for you. When I used to date and I was on a bunch of apps, how many apps were you on for all of this?
I was rotating between 4 apps for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were your top contenders?
Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, and an app I'm not allowed to say I'm on because the one person I went on a date with from that app reported me to the app. I got kicked off, but I got back on the app.
Reported you to the app for what?
For that, this girl is like, she's exploiting people for an article. And I actually even had a text from him that said, you know, you can do whatever you want, just keep any details out about me. And so what I wrote about our date was that like he doesn't want any personal details about him.
Oh my gosh. Just another sad, disenfranchised white man.
Yeah.
Not feeling listened to. Interesting. So I always used to have a little bit of a theory. If a girl had hoop earrings,
Okay.
that was a bit
Am
of
I
a
wearing my hoop
warning
earrings? No, I'm
sign
not.
to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like guys having shirtless photos.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I would see, and the bigger the hoop, I'd go, might be trouble. I don't know.
Yes and no.
Did you ever notice a correlation between shirtless photos and the douchier guy?
Yes. Actually, I have a whole theory about this.
Yes, I knew
So
it.
it's the shirtless guys. It's also like the gym selfies. It's like the
Holding up in the mirror
Yeah.
and like being...
Yeah, it's the headshots in LA too, I think are red flags, to be honest.
Oh, I might have had one of those at some point. Because I think you figure if you
think
don't
it's
like
the best
me
photo of yourself
at my best.
but it's a dating app. It's not an audition.
Oh.
So I think, and
But aren't you auditioning on a dating app
you
a
are
little
and
bit?
you aren't. The best dating app pictures are the candid ones. Are the ones your friends take of you, or the ones of you at an event, or the ones not a group shot, but the ones that you don't know you're taking a picture of, but that you're being like, I think any photos that are like, also the red carpet photos, it's like, we get it, this is Hollywood, but like
Yeah,
enough.
It's enough.
Enough.
It's like if you were in D.C. and every shot was you in the White House. Like, come on, we
yeah,
get it.
like we
It's
get it.
Cincy.
You're in the industry.
Politics. It's in our backyard. Great.
Yeah. So I would say any of those. And so I actually had done I write for Cosmopolitan as a contributing writer.
Cool.
And obviously, and then my first print article I ever wrote for them was I did this experiment where I swiped right on guys that had not the best flattering photos.
Okay.
So that doesn't necessarily mean they're like, that you can tell I'm not attracted to them. It's like they had like the blurry or the backlit or, you know, like out of focus or wearing sunglasses in every shot. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and so I think that for at least when you're swiping for guys, straight men specifically, that hack ends up working out because most men don't know what a flattering photo is of themselves or how to take a good photo.
Okay.
And so I think it helps because you're weeding out the guys that are what you're saying, like the shirtless or the hoop earrings or whatever.
Yeah, just I view them as, I would typically say, I know I'm probably doing a hasty generalization here, but more aggressive, more A-type personality,
Okay.
more, hey, come on,
Yeah.
I'm amazing.
Yeah,
Why don't
yeah.
you want to have sex with me?
I mean, as someone who wears hoop earrings and has actually
No,
a
sorry,
very
I meant
large
for the men,
for the
shirtless.
men,
Yes,
the
shirtless. That's where I was going. Not for women with
No,
hoopless
I
things.
think that's true, and I think also you could really get a sense of how into themselves they are if they're posting a shirtless, you know.
True.
So that's I definitely stand by that for sure.
Okay. All right. Cool. That was a theory.
Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
I'm
Proven right.
Hear that, honey? I
Yeah,
was right.
you were
I was
right.
right. I'm going to mark it down and putting it on the fridge. So were there multiple places that guys kept saying, recommending for like a date place where you were like, oh my God, I've already gone there like 5 or 6 times. Like, I'm so tired of going to this place.
Yeah, but actually that was to my benefit because the dates were so close to each other.
You could just
And I
keep them
also
all in the
didn't have a
same
car
vicinity.
at the time.
Oh, whoa.
I wanted them all to be walking distance to my apartment and in the same. So all the dates happened in a 1 mile radius of each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think uniquely? So from all of this, because now, as you told me before, you're dating someone who you just moved in with.
Yes.
That you did not meet from doing.
No, but I do credit to this day that the reason why we worked out was because I had kind of learned what I wanted, what I didn't want from going on 30 dates in 3 days. If I met him on 30 dates in 3 days, like it could have worked out, but the timing it was from the residue of just being on the dating apps, being active, that I matched with this catch who did not have good pictures, but had a really cute candid shot of him.
Oh, but
and
the
I could
candid
tell he
shot
was
made
cute
up
from
for
the
it.
candid shot.
Yeah.
But I thought he looked like a douchebag in the selfie and the weird, he had like this weird cubicle selfie and that he looks like a serial killer in it. I'm like, that's weird. But the candid, I was like, oh, or he could be really cute.
How many guys out of the 30 guys gave you just a total creep vibe where you're just like, there's no way I'm ever going to be alone with this person?
It was really just one. There was one guy who really was just, I don't know if he was maybe like also like secretly writing an article about dating, but I felt like I was almost on a prank show with someone, like just how he was behaving.
Interesting.
Or he was for real. I don't know.
Could be either.
Could be either. Like he didn't look like his pictures. He looked at me like I didn't look like my photos. I look like my photos. I even wore the dress that I was wearing in all my
that was one of the
photos.
funniest things I saw where you're like, you don't even look like your photos. And you're like, look at me. I'm wearing the dress I have in my photos. And it fits great. And I look like, and I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
That is one of the most, and it makes you feel like shit.
Right.
Because you go, well, that's all you care about? And you're like, well, it's one of the things because you're selling, in essence, like a product as yourself.
Right.
So if you're 30 or 40 pounds over and you don't quite look like your shots,
I agree. I think that your
You know.
photos should be current. And also that's also why I do stress that first dates, especially first online dates,
Yeah.
should only be 57 minutes or under an hour.
oh, good for you.
Because it's kind of a way, and that's the other takeaway I had from the 30 dates in 3 days, because my dates had to be under an hour to make it possible to go on all these dates.
Yeah.
And so it was doing that I learned how efficient that was, because when you're on a date for an hour and you're really like there, you're present, you're focused, it's usually like one drink, one coffee, a walk, whatever. And you're really listening and you're really present. And also if they don't look like their pictures, you don't have to stay for another 2 hours. Or, the worst thing about dating, I remember, is you'd go get drinks with someone. It would be your whole night. And you'd get one drink and they don't look like their picture, so you keep drinking until they look like their photo, and then you're hungover at work the next day.
Yeah.
You
maybe have a sloppy makeout session.
Yeah, and
you
you're
don't
like,
even
and
know.
you don't want, and that's why ghosting happens. If you think about it, because people are like, like,
I was sold a bag of
yeah,
non-goods.
yeah, or maybe not even they don't look like their photo. Maybe they just have a terrible personality, and you could tell that immediately when you sit down with them. But then you keep drinking, and then now you're just like you're enjoying their company. But are you enjoying their company, or are you just both drunk? Like,
Drunk
what is
you
it?
is.
You're drunk. You loves it.
Yeah. Drunk me loved everything.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
He didn't care. Let's see. So let's just say like on a couple of these dates, if they were going poorly, what is something that a guy could do that would turn the date around, that would make you go, oh, you know what? Let me give him a second glance.
Well, actually, I think that as a single person going on dates, if you're not having a good time on your date, you can kind of say that in a way that's not terrible.
Yeah.
So my first date with my boyfriend, actually, I was noticing that I was the one asking him questions, and he would respond to the question, but then wouldn't ask the question back to me, which as a host, and I'm sure that's as someone who interviews people, that's like really irritating.
Sure. Or it's just like, okay, maybe you're not, or maybe you don't want to ask questions, or maybe like you're just tired, or maybe,
Well, so
it
he
could
was
be
tired.
multiple
So it
things.
turned out he was tired. And so what I did is I kept my hour rule.
Yeah.
And I had finished my first drink, and I said, if you don't start, I'm going to use the restroom right now. But if I come back and you don't start asking me questions about myself, I'm going to leave after this round.
Good for you.
And so it
Good for you.
basically, yes, he had a crazy long day at work and he was half asleep. And so it woke him up. He had this like adrenaline, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And like, it totally changed. And I think that we're so afraid to not be polite on first dates. That I don't be rude, but I think you should be yourself.
Stand up for yourself.
Because that could have gone two ways. That also could have gone that he's like, well, screw you, and walked out. And why would I want to continue to date someone like that?
No,
right?
You wouldn't?
No. So I'm happy. I'm like happy I spoke up, and I learned that he was someone who is, who deserves a second round and a million other dates.
Yeah. Let's see. So you said you didn't have a car. Here's a question I have for you. My big thing at the time, and this is also too what I did now with my fiance, and she loved that because she said it didn't really happen in LA, but also because people that she knew vouched for me, so that made her feel better and safe. I always loved picking up the woman on the date.
Okay.
Even if it was a first date. So you hate that. Got it.
I hate that on a first date. I don't mind it on a second. What I would also, but what does work for me is I always think meet them there, because also the other thing is now you're locked into being in a car with this person and you're locked into them being a ride home too. So what I do think is that if you did drive, so if you agree to meet your date somewhere, also always pick a place that I think is equally convenient for both parties. Geographically. And if you're the one asking the person out on the date, then you should be willing to go the extra mile to meet your date.
Yeah.
So if you ask someone out and they live in Santa Monica and you live in Burbank, right?
Right.
And they're like, can you meet me in Santa Monica? You ask them out on a date, they live in Santa Monica, you have to meet them in Santa Monica.
Right.
I think that's fair. But with the ride, it's like, you could offer some, for me personally, it always made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I do like the option that if my date drove there and then he offers to drive me home.
Okay.
That I think is appropriate. And the date went well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would say, for me personally, I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Second date, sure. If second date, you have a first date, it goes well, asks out on second date, it's like, hey, I can pick you up if that works for you.
Sure.
That is amazing. Of course it works for me. It saves me $5 for an Uber, or,
Yeah.
We'll make sure we get to the destination at the same time.
I told my story once about I realized I took out a girl and she didn't have a place to live, and I didn't realize that till the end. Because I'm always like this, of course I'll give you a ride home. The opposite side of that was I was now in my car with a person, and it was after I think 12:30 or 1, and it was one of those creepy, like a Jordan Peele movie where you're like the temperature just changed, and I realized she wasn't going to get out of my car. Like she just didn't want to leave, but she wouldn't tell me where she lived. And she kept saying, you can just buy me a hotel room. You can just take me home to your place. I'm like, you are not coming anywhere near.
That's so creepy.
The flip side, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this quite so often, especially like with strangers, because I'm like, she's got 3 bags, and she had
3 bags.
She had a bunch of stuff. Originally, it looked like groceries. It looked like she was going home, like she was walking home from Ralph's. So I was like, let me. I started talking to her about her few drinks. She's like, suggestively saying like, hey, when I drink, like, let's have a fun night. Like, I'm like, okay, and then towards the end of the evening, I got to get her home, and she starts going into this, well, friends buy me this, and really good friends buy me this, and I'm like, oh, that's the exchange she's looking for, and I could not get her out of my car, and finally I just ended up dumping her at a Starbucks, and, I just said, hey.
Well, so where did you meet her?
I met her coincidentally at my work.
Oh.
Where I was finishing up a bar shift, and she came in and sat down.
How deceptive.
I know. And so I came up and I was like, hey, if you want, I can get you one last drink before I go. And she just said, why don't you get yourself a drink and sit down with me? And so I was like, okay. So
did she smell?
Yeah. She smelled great. She was wearing a cocktail dress and a jacket. She utilizes the 24-hour fitness in Hollywood. And so I think she has her own hookup there. So she can regularly use the showers, do all this stuff. Because she kept saying, take me to the 24-hour fitness in Hollywood. And I was like, why? She's like, they have showers. And I was like, okay. And she was kind of telling me a little bit of like, I was piecing everything together at the end. But because I had been drinking earlier in the evening and I was just solely focused on, I might have sex tonight, I just let a bunch of reality red flags completely
And that's the thing.
go by.
And people, they show you their red flags on the first date. And for her, it was like 24-hour fitness, or just, oh, there are 3 giant bags next to me.
Did not even occur to me.
Because we see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear in dating. And then once we fix that, that's when dating will become more efficient for us.
Yes, and we try to jam it in there like a Tetris from hell. I feel like sometimes we're like, this piece can fit right here. And you're like, no, you're trying Do you know why you can't make it work? Because it's just not
Because it's
meant
not supposed to work.
and that's okay.
And that's fine.
But we are so, I feel like I was just so desperate
Yeah.
to get out of being single
Yeah.
that I was just kind of,
For me, it was my 20s was a time of desperation of being single because I grew up thinking that was like rom-coms are like, oh, the last call to dating is like 28. Like you have to get like.
that's it.
And my friends, and I'm from Connecticut, and my friends that I went to high school with, that honestly, a lot of them aren't friends anymore because we live such different lives. Like we're
Sure.
just like social media friends, had all gotten married and had started to have kids. And like once you hit like mid to late 20s, you're just like, well, I guess I have to settle. And then, that doesn't work out.
Right. Or yeah, you just don't, you're kind of running out of things to talk about.
Right,
Because
which
you're
is-
like, hey, what'd you do? And they're like, I was just cleaning up poop and I was watching videos. And like, what'd you do? Like, oh, I got drunk last night and I was at a club till 2 a.m. and
Yeah. What are
ended
you
up doing,
gonna?
some stuff. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, we have nothing to share.
Exactly. Man. Yeah.
So, and your big takeaway after all of this, what did you discover most about yourself? Because I think that's the most important thing.
Well, so the other thing that it's in the article, it's not really like, I didn't really like kind of expand on it that much, but the whole, a big motivator of what made me want to go on 30 dates in 3 days was is that I had just got out of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
A 1.5 year long relationship where I was living here in LA for like 9 years. My boyfriend at the time got a job in New York. I kind of like gave up on my dreams in LA to move in with him in New York to help support his dreams.
Wow.
And found out very quickly that A, that's like really toxic for any relationship.
Sure.
Also B, like that it wasn't what I thought it was, and like that he wasn't as supportive as I thought he was. And then also bigger picture, which no fault of his own, we weren't the right match. That was
Sure.
the bottom line. And that became very obvious when we were living together in a city where I didn't have a network of friends. I had some friends, but I didn't have as big of a network as friends.
That's tough. Yeah.
And it didn't have like a place, didn't feel like I really belonged, And so when that relationship ended, I moved in with my parents in Connecticut for a couple of months.
There's your next book.
Yeah. So, I wrote my book
That's
while
amazing.
living with my parents in Connecticut.
Oh, the best.
I wrote my first draft there.
Okay.
Also interviewed all my exes while living with my parents.
That's amazing.
Just kind of like went on dates in New York, but I knew I had to get back to LA. I knew LA was like where it made sense, where my friends were, where I could get work. And I had work in New York, but the work in LA was just better.
Okay.
And I mean, it was for a reason because I reconnected with a friend I went to college with who was working at Cosmo, which is how I got to write for Cosmo. So like the trip wasn't a total, that break in life wasn't a total waste.
Yeah.
But when I came back to Los Angeles and I was living on my own for the first time and I was getting back out there, I found myself having a really hard time going on dates and getting myself to go on dates and getting excited about going on dates.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 30 dates in 3 days was kind of a way to challenge myself to get back out there, as I think most people feel when they're going through a breakup. It's hard to go on dates. And so that's the whole reason of why I did that.
I think that's amazing. That's kind of like not working out for a year and
Yeah.
then just deciding I'm just going to sign up for a marathon.
Right.
I'm just going to kind of start running and just see what I can do. But you just got yourself back out there, and I think that's the most important thing. And that also just sounds incredibly daunting. Like
Yes.
just the whole.
And I was like, but if I could do it, it's fine. And like worst case scenario, like I'll have some bad dates, but like whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And to be honest, like there really was only one date that was truly horrible out of all those dates. Like there was only one, and that was the one I was telling you
Do
before.
you want to talk about it?
I mean, sure, yeah, I could get into it because I actually wasn't able to I edited a lot. Like we edited a lot of the dates out because no one wants to watch or hear, like a 3-paragraph like recap on every date. I had to keep it tight.
Sure.
So this was actually my third date on the 30 dates in 3 days.
Okay.
And it was with a guy who, to test your theory, had those pictures that were like shirtless and like really glossy and like
Dun dun dun.
and like all these like
Lot of
really
hair
cute,
product?
yeah, like model shots.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't work. He wasn't a model, according to him. He like worked in real estate, which to me was like attractive because I'm like, oh, I like meeting people. My boyfriend doesn't work in the entertainment industry.
Right.
I think it's refreshing sometimes.
Yeah.
So I meet him. So he asked me to meet him at this place in West Hollywood called the Commissary, or not Commissary, Conservatory. There's two. There's a commissary and conservatory.
To me, they're interchangeable.
Conservatory is cute because inside there's a bar, and on the outside it's a coffee shop kind of thing.
cool.
And they
Okay.
do like cute brunches, and actually they have a really good happy hour. I don't work for there, but that's like I think it's a good date spot. And so he wants me to meet him on Friday at like, it was like a weird, and I had when we scheduled our date, I had all these other times available. But he wanted to meet at 2:30 on Friday. So I go meet him
2:30 on a Friday.
2:30 p.m. on a Friday because he's like, oh, I'm just getting done with X, Y, and Z.
This story deserves BuzzFeed.
Yes, it does.
This is brought to you by Wild
sponsor.
Cherry. Yep.
So I get to the date, and I'm running like maybe a minute late. He's running like very late.
Okay.
And so I text him. I'm like, I'm looking around. I don't see anyone. I'm like, hi, I'm here. And he's like, oh, I'm running late. Can you get me soda water with lime? And I'm like, okay,
Thanks.
So
Hey, by the way, yeah. Can you buy me a season of Lost? I need to catch up. I need to also do this.
the task
Just
is
giving
also
you stuff to do.
Yeah, the task is also impossible because while inside the restaurant bar area they have soda water and lime because it was 2:30 on a Friday.
Right.
The bar area was closed. Wish it wasn't because I really could have used a drink on this date.
Yeah, really.
And the restaurant area, the coffee shop was open. So when I asked the coffee, I was like, hey, do you have a soda water and lime? And she's like, I have like sparkling water, but no lime. Like, sorry. And I ordered myself a tea, and I sat and I waited for what felt like eternity until this guy shows up. And he's cute. By all means, he's cute. He's attractive. Doesn't look like his photos. His photos are clearly old. Doesn't look like it. Which is
From like his 30s and he's in his 40s now?
well, that's the
Something
thing.
like
His age said he was 29, but in person he looked either he parties too much or.
Sure.
But he looked like a good 10 years older than his photos.
that? So he's either 29 with some miles on him, city miles.
Or lying about his age.
Or he's just, I feel like everyone says 29 when they're 41.
Yeah.
Because they go, well, maybe I could be young 30s. No one knows. And instead of just saying 34, 35, they go for 29.
Yeah. So I don't know.
What the hell?
So yeah, 29 is such a fake age. Like 21's a fake age, right? Unless you are that age.
Yeah, you're right. You never say that you're 21.
No.
You always say that you're either older or
Yeah.
younger. No one ever, especially like if you're trying to get alcohol.
Yeah.
You don't say I'm 21. You say I'm
I'm
24.
24 or 20, yeah.
Like it
So-
doesn't even matter.
Anywho, so we're sitting down and we get to talking, and I think one of the first like icebreakers is we talk about like our worst dates that we've ever had. Like me and
This one right now.
Right, yeah, me and my had not knowing yet that would be like this one out of the
Oh,
30. And he goes on to tell me this story about a story where he goes on a date with the girl who doesn't look like her pictures. And it was just like, and you could tell the way that he was telling the story that clearly he was the one who was the asshole in the story, but he didn't realize that kind of. And I wish I remembered the specifics, but it was something along the lines of like basically that she didn't look like her photos and that she was like heavier or like whatever, and that something else. I don't know. This story just like I was like, no one's looking good in this story.
Right.
And then the other thing too is like what I had said in the video was he really did look at me like I didn't look like my pictures, which was
Yeah.
like kind of just like I could just
Just the
tell.
one where you wore the dress?
The dress, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, I definitely like. Granted, that photo probably is like I think the photo maybe is like a year old or whatever. But like the reason why I chose it is because that's how my hair looks. I'm like around that same weight.
No,
the
I
dress
think-
still fits.
Yeah.
You know, like
No,
we're
you're-
good.
Yeah.
And so I sensed that, and then he went on to kind of like tell me that he like while he was that the real estate agent thing seemed like something that he was doing to pay the bills, and that the real passion was the whole like he had a podcast. You know, I
yeah.
know, but you have like this is a legit podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. If someone sneezes, a wall comes down, and you find out there's like little guys back there just holding stuff up, shaking. You know, but
it
they're
sounded,
great.
But also, your podcast sounds like something that like you understand it. What you're talking, you know what I mean? It's like it has
I try to. Thank you.
Sounds different than most other podcasts.
Was his podcast named "Ugly Girls I've Met on Dating Apps"?
It
Because that would
should
just
have
be perfect. Let me tell you something, all right? There's a girl, you meet her, and
But-
she doesn't look like her pictures. And just
But what he
goes
was,
into
but
it.
also what he was describing the podcast to be, it was like he was describing. It just sounded like any other podcast in the world, nothing unique. But it was like the reason why him and his friends decided to do it is because none of them are comedians, but they all think they're really funny and like here's us talking.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
a lot of great guys like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what bothers me about good-looking guys like that? They never had to struggle. There was never a chrysalis moment for them.
That was the other thing. He told me about how his acting class that the feedback he got was that he was too good looking or something like that.
So he's in porn.
Yeah.
He's not. He doesn't take acting classes. His director said, "You're so good looking.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're still doing porn." And he just took that and did what It
was just, and then became that. Then this is the part that I don't know was a bit that was like he was trying out, but it was not funny. is we were in West Hollywood. We were across the street from Hamburger Mary's, which is a very famous, popular gay bar. And he went on to say about how much he doesn't like gay people, how he thinks it's unfair that his tax dollars go to the rainbow flag in the middle of West Hollywood. He's a resident of West Hollywood. And I was like, this can't be a bit. Like, this can't. I'm like, is he like doing like a Sacha Baron Cohen? Like he's playing.
Just wants to see. I feel like he's playing for the OC crowd, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but that's so weird.
So weird.
He might as well just put on a MAGA hat and just say like, so I got to vote my beliefs.
Yeah.
And just sit in front of you and you go, what?
So it was around that time I started looking at the time on my phone. And the funny thing was actually I didn't have, that was my third date, and I didn't have a fourth date until 5 p.m. and it was like 3:30. And so I was just like, yeah, I gotta go. And I never heard from him again. And a lot of the guys resurfaced. A lot of the guys had asked me out on second dates.
Yeah.
Or had checked in with me after the ones that knew about the experiment checked in on me. He is one of maybe like 5 guys or 2. No, maybe the only guy who I never heard from.
Well, that guy, he's John Bon Jovi. He's on tour.
He's on tour.
He's in his own orbit.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on.
No.
He has like a headshot of you on the wall.
Yeah.
And then he just goes, hey, Gabby, did you have a good day? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then he goes to bed. That's it. And by the way, I don't know why I'm giving him this voice. And, oh my gosh. So does he have a sister?
Yeah.
He's got to.
I don't know. Maybe he did. Oh, that was the other red flag. He had never had a girlfriend. He's allegedly 29 years old.
Okay.
And he hadn't had a girlfriend since high school. And it was like a high school relationship, like a 6-month like high school relationship.
That's amazing. And he said that.
Which again, was this all a bit?
Oh my God.
Was I on a secret podcast? Because you know what? I used to have a podcast and I did that. But I told them about it after, where I had a mic on and I would go on dates and my co-host would be in my ear.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I would just kind of record the date naturally.
Yeah.
And then I actually rematched with the guy I did that with on another dating app when I moved back to LA, and we went on a couple of dates, and yeah. But yeah. So I was like, maybe it's a secret. Am I on a secret podcast?
You might be. And it's called Red Flags. Speaking of which, #transition. Jeff Graham is in the booth with us today. Jeff Graham is our producer on the show and the quote-unquote married voice of reason, because he married his high school sweetheart. He's also from Ohio, like I am, which is why he's very good-looking and smart.
Nice.
Jeff, you want to play a little Red Flags, buddy?
Adam, I always want to play a little Red Flags.
Dude,
man.
This is literally, Jeff and I call each other at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Not much.
We just play, yeah. We practice for the show. We play Red Flags all the time.
What would be your red flag? That's what we do.
Yeah.
And my fiance is really cool with it. His wife is great with it.
Nice.
It's
so we have sleepovers, and it gets a little weird. But
it's like sometimes I'm Big Spoon, but it's fine because like when you're 5'8", you have to make it work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read our red flags out loud, and then we're gonna pick the quote-unquote bugaboo, in words of John C. Reilly and Step Brothers, the one you just couldn't quite live with or deal with. Gabby, because you've been talking about all these terrible things, would you like to go first for some red flags?
Okay, sure. So I just read all of them?
Read all of them and then pick whichever one you're like, yeah, I couldn't do this.
Okay, so hair is transplanted from cadaver butts. Oh, okay, so the butts of dead people.
The butts of dead people.
Is in his hair.
Is in his hair.
Okay. College nickname Puke Crotch.
Interesting.
Is a hobbit.
Oh. Where are you on height? How does height matter to you?
You know what? And I don't, this is my experience with I am 5'8", probably like 5'10" in heels, right?
Yeah.
Or 5'7" and 3/4. Never height. I've usually dated guys taller than me just because that's like when I'm at a bar and I'm looking around, that's like who I make eye contact with, you know, when I'm in my heels. But since dating after this breakup, I was really open to like, I didn't have any height standards and it didn't bother me at all. But I did notice, and I don't know if you, as a guy who's under 6 foot, if you experienced this when you were dating, that A, girls want to know and they ask you how tall you are, or B, are you insecure about dating a girl who is taller than you? Because I'll tell you, the 3 guys I dated that were shorter than me had a real big problem with my height.
Really?
But pretended they didn't, but it was Very obvious.
We're going to come right back to the red flags. I'm going to answer this first, but I like this suspenseful music underneath. So let me answer your question. First off, height was never a big deal to me. If you're tall, like 6'2", 6'3",
Yeah.
climb you like a tree and make you breakfast.
How tall is your fiance?
Well, she's actually my height. So then when
Okay.
she wears heels
Yeah,
or
she's
different
taller
stuff,
than
she's,
you.
an
Yeah.
inch or two taller. So yes, I definitely understand that physics. And I think too, the guy she dated before was taller than her. So when she dated me and, that science of going in for like that first kiss, because I'm not over her.
Yeah.
But it was actually fine.
Yeah.
So I think when it's the right person, you don't
care.
it doesn't
Yeah.
bother you.
Yeah.
When you're freaked out and very, I think, self-conscious about it, it becomes like everything.
Yes.
But I've definitely had some women say, by the way, like, I would totally love to go out with you, but you're 5'8". I'm definitely looking for someone at least 5'10" because I'm like this. And also, too, like, that's not, at least they're open and honest about it and you didn't just, like, waste a date. Sometimes, I feel like the girl wants to feel like the girl and the guy wants to feel like the guy. And that might just be a,
Yeah.
subconscious little thing, and that's not bad. I think that's just what you want sometimes.
Makes sense.
So, boom. Cadaver butts, hair,
Okay.
hobbit.
So would I know that his hair is covered in cadaver butts, and could I tell? I guess more, could I tell?
You couldn't tell, but he tells you one day.
Okay. If I couldn't tell, he tells you one day, and it doesn't like smell like cadaver butts, and it like looks like a normal head of hair.
Yeah.
Who am I to judge? Also, the college nickname Puke Crotch, assuming that it stayed in college, also not a problem.
Okay.
And as a hobbit, again, height, like,
Yeah, big feet.
I'm sad that these are all superficial
It's true.
red flags,
That's what a
because I
lot
would
of red
prefer it
flags
to
can
be like something about their personality.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
We should, we should have swapped. Why don't you, it's okay, get superficial.
Yeah.
You pick the one. There's no judgment here. You say whatever you want.
Like, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna say college name Puke Crotch just because if he's telling people as an adult that his college name was Puke Crotch,
yeah.
I'm gonna guess that it's just something he A, takes pride on, and B, maybe he's one of those guys that like still pretends they're in college as an adult, which
Like
is
Frank the Tank?
yeah, like beyond frustrating.
He never quite, yeah.
So I'm less turned off by the fact that his name is Puke Crotch because I feel like we've all done stupid shit in college.
Totally.
But if he owns up to that and he still talks about college
And
like
he's
it
kinda
was
proud of it.
yesterday,
Yeah.
that's a red
The
flag for
father
me.
of your children.
Yeah.
Okay, Puke Crotch. Let's see what I have. Has a superpower. It's seeing through people's clothes. Mm-hmm. There we go. Is building an ark, so they can, commit to something.
Okay.
And only speaks in yelling. Jerry Stiller, Frank Costanza. That's what I'm going with. I had to make a living. Seeing through people's clothes. Is building an ark. Only speaks in yelling. I think the only speaks in yelling thing would eventually just kind of get annoying because he'd be like, "Can we just?"
Yeah.
I just put the baby to sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't think he could do it.
Well, as a woman, though, the seeing through other people's clothes would be because then he's like looking at because like a man's body is like, okay, you know what I mean?
Like, who cares? Yeah.
But who cares? But
Who
like,
wants to look at dicks all day?
yeah,
Nobody.
Yeah, but if he can see through people's clothes and then he's looking at a girl's shirt for too long, I know what he's seeing.
Right.
And I'd be like, A, pervert. Also, B, like, hello, I'm right here.
I'm right here.
I have a perfectly good set.
Absolutely.
So.
So I'm going to go with only speaks in yelling.
Yeah.
Jeff, we're going to throw it to you.
All right, y'all. Let's see. I've got body type dumpster.
Interesting.
Still in 4th grade. Doesn't know the difference between your and your. Immediately, even of those three, I like am revulsed. I'm like regurgitating with people who don't know the difference between your and your. It's a huge pet peeve for me. I'm such like
not the child date.
Well,
not
okay.
the 4th grader that
so
you
I
took?
dated a 4th grade teacher.
Oh.
And I'm gonna make still in 4th grade broaden that to the idea that they could be a 4th grade teacher.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Or they could be like a Billy Madison, right?
Yeah.
Or they
like,
could be like a Billy Madison,
Back
which is
to school.
Back to school.
And I will say that I was a camp counselor actually for 4th graders. And that is a very interesting time. Not saying date a 4th grader, but if that person has the mental capacity of a 4th grader, that's pretty cool because they they still have an imagination.
Oh.
True. It's a very important time in development. And then body type dumpster. I'm not really one to body shame people. I'm like open-minded, But I think fitness is important to me, like taking care of yourself. So it seems like if your body type is a dumpster, you're not really interested in taking care of yourself in any capacity.
Sure.
But I'm going to say that like truly can't spell out between your and your.
That would bother you, wouldn't it?
That would bug me a lot. Especially if they told me I was misspelling things that I knew were spelled right.
That'd be tough. Yeah.
That'd be really
hey,
tough.
by the way, you spelled this wrong. And be like, well.
It's funny. I think that I think men have a bigger issue with with grammar than women for the most part. Because I had a guy friend who was in a serious relationship with a girl, and one of the reasons why he wanted to break up with her was because she was terrible at grammar, and it really infuriated him.
Jeez, that sounds so terrible. I mean, yeah.
I think what it represents to me is a lack of wanting to learn. Like
yes,
I like
okay,
love.
That's fair.
I love a lifelong learner. Like my wife's really curious about stuff, and I feel like if someone is just incessantly spelling things wrong, and you're like gently correcting them, and they don't care, that is kind of that. Especially like as a future parent, that just would like get under my skin.
Yeah. No, as long as they learn.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. It's very Ross Geller. Where you are apostrophe R E U R, where you are means you're. Anyway, sorry, it's a fight with him and Rachel. So let's go into real quick advice. If you could go back after everything you've just done, everything you've written, go back and you have 90 seconds to talk to 18-year-old you.
I would hand her a copy of my book, 20 Guys Who Date in Your 20s, and be like,
Signed by
this is
you.
what's going to happen.
Signed by the author. That's you.
I would have her read that, which you can pre-order wherever you buy books right now.
Yes, the 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s.
20 Guys, the 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s.
The 20, yeah.
No,
The.
There's no the.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's no the.
No.
I'm so sorry. I just kept saying the.
It's okay. I mean, the book is The 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s, but the book title is 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s.
If this had been a date, I feel like it would have just
know.
failed because I
I've been
didn't
like,
listen, and you said it twice, and I could
Grammar,
tell.
right?
Anyway, 20 Guys You Date in Your 20s.
Or you can pre-order it wherever books are sold, and
so
it comes out May 26th
Awesome.
in bookstores. But what I would say to myself, hand the book, but also the biggest thing is you're going to waste a lot of time on people that aren't worth your time. And I think a lot of my 20s was spent making up excuses for red flags, ignoring red flags, and not realizing that like on a first date, people tell you who they are. And instead of lying to yourself and telling you could date a guy with a foot fetish or date an alcoholic or date, a club promoter with a shoe collection, like really listen to yourself, because deep down, that's not who you envision your partner to be or what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
So go on that date, but you don't have to go on that second date or that third date, or you don't have to date someone because they text you back. That's too low of a standard. But
Well
also
done.
don't date people that don't text you back.
You honestly, you lost me after the shoe, the promoter of the
fetish.
foot fetish or the guy with the shoe collection.
Club promoter with the shoe collection.
promoter.
He's the guy who's cooler than me. So each guy has, my book basically breaks down 20 different types of relationships. And
Yeah.
for some people, they can make the relationships work.
Yeah.
In my case, the relationships didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
So it's not man shaming. It's like, here's a funny story.
I have bad stuff about my dates, and it's never about, well, they were terrible.
No, it's
Part
something
of
I
it
couldn't handle
sucked,
most of the
but
time.
yes, it was
Yeah.
because I was such a mess walking into it. That was the whole point.
Like I was insecure about how cool I was. So dating a guy who I was so fixated on being cooler than me didn't work out for me because I wasn't being truly myself.
No, I can tell you're very cool. Right
you.
now, I bring nothing to this table. You're doing everything. No, I'm
you
not
so
kidding.
much.
I've wanted you on this show for so long. Thank you. So, do you have any handle stuff where we can find you online, all that stuff?
Yeah, at ITSGABICONTI. So that's It's Gabi Conti on Instagram, on Twitter. And then GabiConti.com is my currently not updated website. Will be updated soon, but you can contact me on there. But the best way, I'm very active on Instagram.
Perfect. All
Yeah.
right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave you with a little quote for today. Dating is like putting the perfect amount of change in the vending machine, only to see your snack of choice get stuck in the rotating silver coil. Dating in LA, same thing with the snack getting stuck, except you try and rock the machine and it falls over on you and you crap your pants. This is Adam Carr reminding you all, stay horrible, stay single. Hey, we don't judge.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.